Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video, I'm going to be listing off the top 5 worst subgenres of metal in my opinion. Before I get into the top 5, I have one dishonorable mention, and that's doom metal. Doom metal is, I only have one thing to say, and that's why. Why does it exist? It's very slow and very boring. But that's, I don't have much to say about it than just why does it exist in the first place. But that could kind of go for all 5 things on this list. Um, but yeah, so that was my dishonorable mention. Now let's get to the actual top 5 worst subgenres of metal. Alright, number 5 is anything with the word core in it. Deathcore, grindcore, metalcore. Like, this is a very weird offshoot of metal. It almost like from everything that I've come across, which is a fair amount. It's mainly consists of, at least the fans mainly consist of, no, at least people in their teens or maybe a little bit out of that, but usually it's just bands that are, the whole genre and the bands within them are more like trend bands in a trend genre, if that makes any sense. Because there are trend bands that are meant to be like, one-offs, like they're popular for a little bit, then kind of fade away, or even whole subgenres, or like can be that way too for some stuff. It's really just bands trying to be metal, but not, going not taking that extra step to go all the way. And because of that, it kind of comes off as just, not really copycat metal, but it kind of represents, it almost fits into that, like, made for, edgy teens and stuff like that. It's just a very bizarre offshoot of, multiple different kinds of metal that just doesn't really hold up. Yeah, anything with the word core in it, any subgenre with the word core in it is bad. But yeah, that's at number 5. At number 4 is new metal. Yes, I'm not talking about, for those, no, I'm not talking about, brand new metal. I'm talking about new metal, subgenre, NU metal. This is very much sort of a trend subgenre with consisting of trend bands. New metal isn't really around anymore per se. Like, there's some offshoots that are still around, but they're not very, relevant, or prevalent, I should say. And it was popular in pretty much majority of the 90s. I'd say probably mid to late 90s, maybe even early 90s a bit. But it is what kind of, for a while, for the decade of the 90s, sort of temporarily killed off traditional heavy metal and just decimated and made extinct glam metal. It kind of, people don't really like it that much because it did sort of decimate traditional metal and even glam metal for that matter. I kind of am in the same vein of I don't like it because of that, but I also don't like it because it's just not that good. It's sort of like, especially with the '90s stuff, it usually consisted of like bands and like their whole attitude of, oh, we're so tough, we're better than everyone else. The music from those bands kind of mirrors that. About they want to keep this tough guy image, and they want to hate on everything else, both fans of other stuff and other genres in general. And the music just is abysmal, really. Basically just, macho man sort of tough guy music that has nothing better to do than just be that one-dimensional sort of thing. And that's kind of what 90s Pantera is, basically. And that's why I don't like 90s Pantera. 80s Pantera? Love 80s Pantera. 90s Pantera? Ugh. Anyway. But yeah, new metal is at number 4. At number 3 is one that is probably the most bizarre. Nah, I'd say second most bizarre on this list is gent or digent, depending on how you pronounce it. There's a D. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's not. This is a very, very, very bizarre and just very just dumb kind of a subgenre. Um, I would very much say that there is some things in it that that because of that I would consider not really metal, maybe just like imitation metal in a way. I don't know. Digent or gent, however you pronounce it, is just one of those very bizarre subgenres that you can't really describe unless you can't really describe. You would have to hear it to really understand. It's an enigma, really. It's a very much an enigma, and it's just another one, just kind of like doom metal in a way, where it's just like, why does this exist? But yeah, it's just something that is just something just to just avoid. Um, Number 2 is grunge. Another genre, just like with new metal, that kind of killed off traditional heavy metal and glam metal. I'd say both actually killed off those other two types of metal in the 90s. Grunge especially. It's again, it could be argued that it's not really even metal. It's another sort of, I guess, subgenre of what I would call Chad metal or bro metal, where they have to have this tough guy image, this really tough guy image. No wimps, none. It's pretty much in the same vein of new metal. Or again, I call it Chad metal or bro metal, where it's again all of it is just basically the tough guy image. Um, and it's just, I don't know, it's just another thing from the 90s that that did not age well. It's so dated to the point where you go back and listen to it, and immediately you just want to just like crunch your like headphones up or like smash a speaker because it's just so bad. But yeah, it's another thing that's sort of a trend genre with trend bands that unfortunately made the 90s in terms of music kind of bad, because it did, along with the other one, new metal. It killed off traditional heavy metal temporarily, but also completely decimated glam metal permanently. Um, but yeah, it's pretty bad. And at number 1, probably the most bizarre, I'd say maybe even more bizarre than Degent, is kawaii metal. You heard me right, kawaii metal. This is very much the epitome of an enigma within a genre or subgenre of metal. If you don't know what kawaii metal is, it's basically the only really proper way to describe it is taking one of the probably the biggest band in that genre and describing that particular band, and that band is, get this, for the most cringiest of cringe band names in terms of metal, baby metal. Yeah, like, judging from that title, you're already like, you can't really take this band seriously, or the genre for that matter. Basically, okay, so to describe what kawaii metal is to pretty much describe what band baby metal is. It's these like, what, 16-year-old what Japanese or Korean girls singing K-pop music. And behind them, there's like death metal blast beats for no reason other than just have that there. It's a very, very bizarre and just stupid combination. Um, that this band basically sums up what kawaii metal is. Cute little 16-year-old girls singing with like death metal blast beats in the background, and a band with a very stupid band name, baby metal. Like, what the hell? Hell, I mean, this band is probably the most well known of this genre, or subgenre, I should say. And they didn't even know what death metal was until someone confronted them about it and say, why do you have death metal blast beats in the background? And like, what is death metal? So you know they don't really know anything about metal. They just like, I don't know. I don't know how the hell they became a band. I don't know why anyone thought it was a good idea, but it's absolutely atrocious. Um, but yeah, that's really about it for this video. That was, in my opinion, the top 5 worst subgenres in metal. Um, so anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.